Hello and welcome to South Bay Sports Radio. Here's your host, Nick Ingram.
I am here with Coach Jason Miller, Leuzinger High School. Coach, you make it back to the semifinals for the first time since 2022, but you're looking to do something that hasn't happened in the program in a pretty long time. What's been the key to the success of this team this year?
First of all, thank you for having me, Nick. So, yeah, we haven't been this far in quite a long time here at Leuzinger. The key this year over last year, I think, is the versatility of our team. We were a little bit thin offensively as the season wore on at the receiver position last year. We were a little bit young as Russell was beginning his first year at quarterback. The pieces just weren't quite there, even though we were a Division II team and we had a lead going into the fourth quarter in the first round. The pieces more so fell into place this year with regards to, kind of regulating the coaching staff and having a little bit more chemistry and with the talent being a little bit more mature.
Let's focus on the talent on the defensive side. Now, you've got Samu Moala, but we were talking earlier about the play of Braylin Spencer, especially coming out of the shadow of a player like Samu Moala. How big has it been for the defense to make a name for itself in a tough division like Division II?
Well, when you think in terms of a kid like Braylin Spencer, he backed up Samu Moala last year, didn't get to play very much at all, only in certain situations. He knew he had to step up. He worked really hard in the offseason to improve his game. Just really determined to be good and play to the level that has become the norm here at Leuzinger. And he's just made big play after big play this year. The latest coming on the fourth down and goal stop against the team we played last week. I lost my train of thought.
Chaparral.
So he made the fourth down stop against Chaparral. And all year just has made key play after key play. Just to see his confidence grow as the season's gone on had just been a really great thing to witness.
You come into that game against Chaparral, and I know that the big talk was their high-powered offense, but talk to me a little bit more about the complete play of your defense. Like I said earlier, and I don't think I talked about this, but Braylin finished with 10 tackles. Sharkly Vanisi, Jamal Fay had 12 and each had a sack. Samu Moala had 2 sacks. But to be able to shut down a high-powered offense like that for the first time this season, what did that say to the complete unit that your defense is?
Not only that, our offense had a little bit of trouble moving the ball. The weather was a huge factor on both sides, so you don't want to discount that. But, guys like Shark and Pakipole and Jedi Cabs and like I said, Braylin Spencer earlier and Ted Tui Mauga, all year these guys have had solid efforts. They're led by our defensive coordinator, DJ Morgan, in his first year. He's gotten the most out of those guys. They watch a lot of film to become students of the game. And, just the entire season, our pass rush has been consistent. I think we've got, 3 guys with over 10 sacks. We've been solid against the run all year. So for our guys, we just wanted to keep, things in front of us, tackle, pretty cleanly and clearly and prevent the big play. So, we knew that Chaparral relied on the big play, but I thought our guys did a good job of keeping everything in front of them and making Chaparral work for everything.
We're going to switch from the defensive side to the offensive side. Speaking of big plays, when you need a big play, it seems like Journee Tonga is the guy who gets his number called. How critical has he been to the success, not only this year, but as a junior as well?
Well, if you can say, what part of the body is Journee Tonga, you got the brain, the head. I think if you would say, what part of the body Journee Tonga is, it'd be the heart for us. So he, first of all, plays with a huge heart, but he's also extremely intelligent. Journee rushed for 2,000 yards last year. That is a huge feat for a high school back. Maybe 2 or 3 in the country rushed for 2,000 yards in a season. And that's what he was coming off of. So he actually wanted to show that he can catch the ball as well as run. And Journee's one of the best receivers in the South Bay area, in the region, actually, can make contested catches, can run after the catch. And for him to have to move to quarterback after our first string quarterback went down, Russell Zakona went down, and to lead us into the most important part of the Bay League season, the last two games, and win them, was just extraordinary. I mean, it's just a thing of legends, to move from your 2,000-yard rushing position to quarterback. Last year, he played offense and defense. He played safety a lot of the time. So this year he concentrated more on offense, but whenever we just absolutely had to have it, we rode the back of Journee Tonga. If there was a last touchdown scored in a game, it was going to be scored by Journee Tonga, our program won't be the same once he graduates. There's no replacing Journee Tonga.
One of the things that we talked about earlier in the season was, and this was after the game against Palos Verdes, he hadn't taken a snap under center, and for him to just, step up and answer the call when it was needed, that is stuff of legend. I agree.
And it's without a flinch, it's without a flinch. It's stepping right in there. Journey is able to call the offense and, knows the offense. And I say this and people think it's a slight at Russell. Russell's a great quarterback, very smart. Journey knows the offense better than Russell. He knows the offense, as good as our coordinator. And, he says he wants to be a coach one day. And I'm like, Journey, no, you're a coach right now.
Coach Chen. Offensive line, and I know that Russell talked about it last week and Journee's talked about it all season, but the play of your big guys up front, how crucial have they been to the success of this offense, not only when you needed it against Chaparral's defense, but throughout the season when you needed a yard here, a yard there?
Well, if you look at the history of Leuzinger, and I'm talking about going back 50 years. When Leuzinger's at its best is when its offensive line leads the team. When I was a player here, we were known for our great offensive line coaching. We have a great coach in Miles Mason who worked extremely hard to make these guys students of the game. Not only are our guys powerful, big, strong guys. People see us walk out there, see Big Blake, he's 6'4", see all these big, strong guys, but they're extremely intelligent and they're able to adjust on the run before, even coming to the sideline to check with the coaches. Our guys know all of the adjustments to make. They're very comfortable. They don't panic, and they have a lot of pride. And that makes for a great offensive line, And the reason why, and it's simple, the reason why it's successful is we have this great offensive line, physically and mentally, and they are surrounded by great skill players. So when you add linemen to skill players, you have great outcomes.
Next up, San Clemente, Friday in the rain. San Clemente is coming off a game where they limited Vista Murrieta to just over 200 yards, but they forced 5 turnovers. How big is it going to be to not only protect the ball, but to find ways to create turnovers as well?
Well, San Clemente plays with an extreme amount of discipline. They have a great tradition. We have a lot of respect for the tradition that they have. I followed them for years, and their slogan is "One Town, One Team." And we all want the opportunity to have only one high school in our town, and we get everybody to go to our school. But they've been able to do that, and they built a tradition through the Pop Warner ranks, through the lower level ranks. They are just one of the top 5 solid public school programs in the state of California. And they play with a great level of discipline. Sometimes you can be fooled, that here's this team, they don't have 5-star players at skill positions. But what you see on film that pops off is the amount of discipline and how the guys do what they're coached to do, whether they create an assignment, execute an assignment off of a double team. The double team is perfect. The back is going to get 4, 5, 6 yards of carry, and they're going to be patient with that. They're well coached. They're very aggressive on defense, but at the same time, play very disciplined. Everybody's in the right place. So for us, the key is going to be trying to match their discipline. I don't know if you can exceed it in high school football. I mean, it might be the most disciplined program out there, but What we want to do is try to match their discipline. That's our goal. We talk about discipline the whole year. We want to be that team that is as disciplined as it is athletic. And this will be a great test for us. And we'll have to be if we want to advance to the championship round.
I don't ask a lot of coaches this because I know that maintaining your emotions on the sideline during a game is easier said than done. But how do you ride that wave to allow your players to see that you are the calm in the storm when they need it the most?
Well, firstly, it's my responsibility as a professional, right? And the football field is just an extension of the classroom. I teach in students with mild to moderate learning and behavioral disabilities, and I've taught in classes where all students have emotional disabilities. So, being able to keep my composure has been key to being successful in the classroom, and I've found that it rolls over onto the field. So, we've had a lot of emotional games in the last couple of years, a lot of great upsets, high flying games at SoFi Stadium. It's my responsibility to steady the ship. And I take that job, very seriously. And, I'm very comfortable in that role right now. And it's really my main job on this coaching staff is to make sure that I manage the emotions of the coaches and players. And I think we've done a good job like that at that. But, each game is its own entity. So we just want to make sure that, we are calm. We don't play too emotional. You don't see us out there with a bunch of chants and a bunch of yelling and a bunch of screaming. We just, take our lunch pails to work. And, we know we have a job to do. And that's what we have to do to come out with a win.
Blue collar program. Your brother is also a coach and his team is also in the semifinals, correct?
Yes, sir, at Bellflower High School.
How big is that for you, knowing that somebody that you grew up with, that you played ball with, is also fighting for a spot in the championship game?
Well, it's not only that, he coached with me and for for a few seasons under me. So, we've kind of walked this walk together, I would say, for uh, over 20 years. And it's interesting. We actually probably talk less now because we're so involved with our program. And I feel like almost when we talk that we're all talked out about high school football. If anything, we'll talk about the NFL or college football. I have a group chat with he and my older brother, and we'll just talk about, wacky things in sports or NIL or any news in sports. He's at Bellflower. I was at Bellflower and have a lot of fond memories and a lot of friends over there. So I'm excited to see them bounce back, got into the Division 12 semifinals. So, that's a lot of fun for me. I do have to admit it's hard to pay as close attention as I would probably want because I'm just so gassed after a long day of dealing with Leuzinger football. So essentially, I wait till after the game and I'll check the score and I'm like, okay, they won or, however they did. And my nephews was offensive player of the year for their league. So we're really close and, I'm really proud of him. And, that's just, it's not as we're not our teamwork has fallen off more than you would think as because we're in two separate programs, with a lot of pressure and a lot of things to do. So it's not a lot of time to kumbaya over, the moments that we're having. Literally, we send each other kind of one text after the game, like I was like, hey, let's go. Here comes the flower. And he goes, well, yeah, here goes the Lou house. You guys got to, and that's it. And then we talk less now than we have in the last couple of years when we were obviously coaching together at Bellflower.
Who are some of your mentors in regard to the coaching ranks?
That's a great question. Great question, because I definitely have some that I'm very proud to have learned from. So Don Markham, who taught me essentially his coaching philosophies, starting with his double wing T offense and how to train a team and how to, as far as off the field, how to run a practice on the field, just it's almost like sitting at his knee and just listening to grandpa tell you everything. We were, very close for years. I only coached under him 1 year, but we ended up being close for 20 years or so after that. Um, Also, Mike Witt, who's retiring this year at Leuzinger, he kind of took me under his wing when I first started at Leuzinger. Charles Nash, who was the coach at Inglewood, that as good as Markham was with the X's and O's, Charles Nash was with inner city kids and families. And so I really looked up and learned a lot from him. So, that's a great question. And, probably first and foremost was my dad. My dad used to coach a lot of youth basketball teams. And when being 10 and 12 years old, and they'd be up putting a blog, I'd say, "Hey, Dad, can I coach the team?" And I'd go up there and act like I was calling a bunch of plays. I didn't even know what the plays were. So, I definitely have some role models out there and some mentors that I've learned from. This is I'm not an island. To myself. Everything that is me is a amalgamation of a bunch of different parts and a bunch of different people.
There we go, Coach Jason Miller. Coach, I know we go back and forth about football because our teams don't necessarily see eye to eye, but I will be honest, that Matthew Stafford, he's a heck of a quarterback, and that Rams defense, they made it tough for that San Clemente quarterback to do anything last week. So, as always, best of luck to the Olympians.
I appreciate it. Well, the Rams, it's just felt for so many years we had bad quarterbacks. And, part of the reason I moved back from Northern California to Inglewood area so I can go to the Rams games. That's how wacky I am. And it's just, as a kid, I wasn't able to go to the games. They played in Anaheim. I lived here in LA. So I'd have to listen to AM radio with a buzz in the background, all to listen to them go 3-13. One time I called the money together to go to a Rams 49ers game. And it happened to be Deion Sanders' first game with the Niners. And they just smacked us. I just wasted my money totally. They just smacked us around. But let me tell you, I have the time of my life now that the Rams are good and they're always fighting for the lead. I get to go to the games. It's like having my childhood replayed, but this time I don't have to listen to the game on the radio. I actually get to go. So my Rams and Olympians are doing well. Life's good.
There we go. One last one. A couple of the boys got to be on CBS2 with legendary sports anchor Jim Hill. How is that when you get to see your boys with somebody that I'm sure you grew up watching talk about sports on the CBS2 Evening News?
What I was more proud of was the opportunity of Coach Sakona to be on there. He's done a tremendous job over the years with youth programs and coaching at in the Centinel Valley District the last few years. And the reason being, and I tell him all the time, as a Tongan coach, I said, I just wish in my younger coaching years, you had the opportunity to have you out there. A lot of our Polynesian kids, I just feel like a lot of them were used for their ability and no one really looked to talk to them about going to the next level as a player or as a person. Were you going to go to college? Were you going to own a business? What were you going to do? It was just play first now and then, okay, great career and, off into the sunset. So I was really happy to have given Coach Tone the opportunity to be on CBS and get an opportunity to talk about the team and for our Polynesian community, our Tongan community especially, to see him and say, hey, this is our opportunity to see ourselves on, talking about the game intelligently and not just being thought of as an athlete running around out there. Here's someone who now has an opinion, an educated opinion. And so it was important to me and deliberate to be able to put him on television along with the kids. Russell is just a great kid. Mason Miller, they're just all great kids. We don't have very few complaints about them from teachers and staff at school. I've just been fortunate to have such an upstanding group of young men to coach this year and last.
Coach Jason Miller, Leuzinger High School. Thank you again, Coach, very much.
All right, go Lou.